guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to review the movie Eddie and the Cruiser that came in 1983, and today we are going to do the ultimate in-depth analysis and review, and we will talk about its fact and its exhaustive review, analysis, and everything about what there. Let's start with its introduction and significance. Eddie and the Cruiser is a cult classic film that blends musical drama, mystery, and coming of age themes. Directed by Martin Davidson, the film explores themes of fame, artistic integrity, betrayal, and the elusive nature of truth. Although it was not a huge box office hit upon release, it gained a massive following through home video, radio play, and its soundtrack became an enduring piece of 1980s pop culture. The film is notable for its compelling soundtrack, charismatic performance, and its layered narrative about fame and identity. Its impact is amplified by its intriguing ending, which leaves the viewers questioning what is real and what is mythology to plot or about its historical and cultural context. Music and the 1980s rock scene set against the backdrop of 1960s and 70s rock scene. Eddie and the Cruiser taps into the nostalgia for a golden era of rock music. The soundtrack features these hits like On the Dark Side, Tender Years, and Almost Saturday Night, which became hits in their own right. If we talk about the American dream and artistic integrity, the film explores the tension between commercial success and artistic authenticity, a common theme in the music industry during the 1980s. It saw the rise of MTV, corporate influence, and the commodification of counterculture. If we talk about mystery and myth, making the film's narrative structure plays with the idea of myth versus reality, echoing stories of rock legend and the romanticization of fame. If we talk about plot summary and breakdown, prologue, the legend of Eddie. The film opens with the mystery documents style narration suggesting that Eddie Wilson, the lead singer of the fictional band Eddie and the Cruiser, might have died in a car crash in the early 1970s. However, there are hints that his death might be a myth or cover-up, setting the tone for a story about truth and perception. If we talk about main plot, the search for the truth, the story revolves around Terry Daniels, a radio DJ and music historian who becomes obsessed with uncovering the real story behind Eddie Wilson's life and the fate of the band. If we talk about key plot points, the band's rise, Eddie and the Cruiser gain popularity with their innovative sounds, blending rocks, folk, and blues. If we talk about betrayal and conflict, tension within the band, especially between Eddie and the manager Joey, while it threatened their success. Eddie's mysterious disappearance and presumed death become a legend, fueling huge rumors and conspiracy theories. the church Terry digs into the past, interviewing band members and finding uncovering conflicting stories. If we talk about the revelation, the film ends with a shocking twist. Eddie might have survived, or perhaps his death was fabricated, leaving viewers questioning the truth. If we talk about character analysis and development, Eddie Wilson, Michael Paré, traits charismatic, rebellious, talented, conflicted. And if we talk about development, Eddie's journey from passionate musician to a symbol of artistic integrity versus commercial success, his internal struggle reflects the broader theme of the artist's fight against the industry. If we talk about mystery, his true fate remains ambiguous, embodying the mythic quality of the story. If we talk about Terry Daniels, John Stockwell, trades curious, persistent, idealistic role, the protagonist and actor representing the audience's perspective is obsessed with the uncovering the truth, mirror the audience's curiosity. If we talk about development, its journey from innocent fan to skeptical investigator underscore themes of disillusionment and search for authenticity. If we talk about Salamato Joy Pantoliano, trades cynical, pragmatic, and if we talk about role, band manager and insider provides insights into the industry's darker side. And if we talk about development, his conflicting loyalties highlight the compromises and betrayals inherent in show business. If we talk about other band members and figures, Vince, Eddie's best friend and bandmate, embodies loyalty and the tragic cost of fame. If we talk about Gus, Tommy Michael Ford, the bassist, grounding presence, the Doctor and family represent personal and emotional stakes within the band's story. If we talk about themes and symbolism, myth versus reality, the film plays with the idea that the story of Eddie and the cruiser has become a myth, an urban legend that blurs truth and fiction. The ambiguous ending reinforces this theme. And if we talk about artistic integrity and commercial success, Eddie's struggle mirrors that of many artists, balancing creative passion with the industry pressure. The tension between authenticity and commodification is central. If we talk about nostalgia and passage of time, the film examines how memories and stories fade or change over time. If it emphasizing the nostalgia of a lost era. If we talk about betrayal and loyalty, betrayal within the band and the industry reflect the corrosive influence of fame and greed. If we talk about death, survival, and legacy, questions about Eddie's fate symbolize the desire for immortality through art and the fear of being forbidden. If we talk about soundtrack and musical significance, the soundtrack is arguably the film's most celebrated elements. It features On the Dark Side by John Caffrey and the Beaver Brown Band, the hit song that captures the rebellious spirit. If we talk about Tender Years and Almost Saturday Night songs that evoke the 1960s and band's nostalgic sound, the music blends classic rock with original composition, creating a timeless feel. The soundtrack's success helped revive interest in the band's music, with many songs becoming hits outside the film. If we talk about cinematic style and techniques, narrative structure, the film employs a documentary style approach, blending interview footages, archival style narration, and dramatized scene to create a sense of authenticity. And if we talk about visual style, use of handheld cameras and natural lighting enhances realism. If we talk about period appreciate custom, then set design evoke the 1960s and 70s. If we talk about editing and pacing, the film balances musical sequences with character-driven drama, maintaining a steady pace that builds suspense and intrigue. If we talk about sound design, music is integrated seamlessly with the diegetic performance and background score, reinforcing emotional beats. If we talk about production and behind the scene, director Martin Davidson, screenplay by cinematographer Wayne Katz, based on the story by John Skinfield. If we talk about cast, Michael Bear, John Stockwell, Joey Pantoliano, and others. If we talk about filming locations, set in New Jersey and New York, capturing authentic regional atmosphere. And if we talk about inspiration, the film was inspired by the real life and outlaws and other stories of rock bands with the mysterious of tragic legends. And we talk about cultural impact and legacy, the film developed a dedicated cult following, especially among music fans. The soundtrack remains iconic, with songs still played on classic rock stations. Its ambiguous ending has sparked debates and theories, making it a favorite subject for film analysis and decision. If we talk about Eddie and the Cruiser, inspired a sequel, Eddie and the Cruiser Second, Eddie Leaves 1989, which expanded on the myth but was less critically acclaimed. If we talk about controversies and criticism, some critics felt the film was slow or overly nostalgic. If we talk about others, appreciated its atmospheric storytelling and musical authenticity. The ambiguity of the ending has been both praised and criticized for leaving questions unanswered. If we talk about sequel and spin-off, Eddie and the Cruiser, second Eddie Leaves, attempted to continue the story, suggesting Eddie might have survived, but it failed to capture the magic of the original. Original renames remains more critically revered, often considered a classic of 1980s cinema. If we talk about philosophical and artistic reflection, Eddie and the Cruiser explore the universe human desire for recognition, the myth making inherent in fame, and the elusive nature of truth. It questions whether the legend is more meaningful than the reality, and whether art is worth the sacrifices it demands. If we talk about conclusion and final thoughts, Eddie and the Cruiser is a richly layered film that combines a compelling mystery with a potent celebration of music and youth. Its enduring appeal lies in its ability to evoke a nostalgia while probing deeper questions about authenticity, legacy, and the stories we tell ourselves. The film's open ended conclusion invites viewers to interpret the truth of themselves, making it a timeless piece that continues to captivate audience. If we talk about more, then just go for we are go for it. I think we should on. If we talk about Eddie and the cruisers, I did the most exhaustive depth and complete analysis ever. If we talk about introduction and cultural significance, Eddie and the cruisers stands as a quintessential example of 1980s American cinema that blend music, mystery, nostalgia, and a philosophical inquiry into the nature of pain and truth. Although it was not an immediate commercial blockbuster, its enduring legacy grew through word of mouth, home video sales, and radio broadcasts, elevating into cult status. The film's narrative explores the myth of the rockstar, how legends are created, how they fade, and how they are remembered. Its soundtrack filled with evocative songs became integral to its identity, and the film ambiguous ending has sparked endless debate and analysis. Talk about historical and cultural context. The 1960s and 1970s back era, set during and after the tumultuous 1960s. The film captures the spirit of rebellion, experimentation. In the burgeoning rock scene, it reflects the era's cultural shifts, youthful idealism giving way to commercialism, disillusionment, and the search for authenticity. If we talk about music industry and fame dynamics, the 1980s saw the rise of corporate music production and the commodification of counterculture and the cruisers examines how artists navigate the tension between artist integrity and commercial success, and ongoing debate that remains relevant today. To nostalgia and myth making, the film plays with the idea that legends grow beyond their real origins, becoming mythical archetypes. It questions whether the stories we tell about the past are truthful or romanticized. Talk about plot and narrative structure. We talk about introduction and mystique. The film opens with a documentary style narration and footage suggesting the mysterious death of Eddie Wilson, the charismatic lead singer of Eddie and the Cruiser. This framing device sets a tone of intrigue and might prompting viewers to question what is true. If we talk about main narrative, the search for truth, the work of the film follows Derek Daniels, a DJ and music historian who becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth about Eddie's life and the fate of the band. Key plot points include the rise of Eddie and Bruce's, their innovative sound blends blues, pop, and rock, creating It lies on the dark side. They symbolize youthful rebellion and artistic authenticity. Internal tensions and battle rivalries, personal conflict, and industry pressure threaten the band's unity. If we talk about Eddie's mysterious disappearance, rumors swirl about Eddie's death, with some believing he faked his death to escape fame or that he was murdered. The search and revelation terrorist interviews and investigation reveal conflicting stories culminating in the ambiguous possibility that Eddie might still be alive or that his death was a myth. If we talk about climatic ambiguity, if we talk about character analysis and psychological depth, Eddie Wilson, Michael Paré, traits charismatic, rebellious, talented, conflicted, character arcs from a passionate young musician driven by authenticity to a man disillusioned by industry pressure seeking escape or reinvention. If we talk about themes, the tragic hero who sacrificed personal integrity for fame, yet remains haunted by his past. Symbolism Eddie embodies the archetype of the misunderstood artist cursed by the very success he craves. About Terry Daniels, John Stockwell, traits curious, idealistic, honest, our role, the protagonist representing the audience's curiosity and longing for truth. Without R from Nave to disillusion. Investigator questioning the stories he's been told and confronting uncomfortable truth about fame and myth. If we talk about Salamato Joy, Pantolian traits, cunning, pragmatic, sometimes clinical, role, band manager, insight, and survival and embodiment of the music industry's darker realities. Development is confronting realities, highlight the compromises and betrayal that define the music business. Photographer Vince Mickelback traits slur protective role at his close friend and bandmate symbolizes loyalty and emotional toll of fame. If we talk about gastronomical for trades grounded steady role, the basis representing the honest working class roots of the bands. If we talk about the supporting character, the doctor and family represent personal, emotional needs and the human cost of pain. We talk about industry figures illustrate the manipulative and commercial aspect of the music scene. If we talk about themes and philosophical underpinning, mythology versus reality, the film underscores how peasants are often more complaining than fact. The myth of Adi surprise is real story illustrating how collective memory and storytelling shape cultural icons. If we talk about art and commercialism, Adi's eternal struggle reflects broader debates about artistic authenticity versus commercial success, the tension between staying true to oneself and pleasing the industry is central. If we talk about nostalgia and memory, the film explores how memories fade or distort over time and how nostalgia can romanticize the past, often growing over pain and betrayal. If we talk about death and survival, questions about Eddie's fate symbolizes the desire for artistic immortality and the fear of being forgotten. The ambiguity invites viewers to reflect on what endures, truth or myth. If we talk about betrayal, if we talk about betrayal and loyalty, the film examines the complex bonds between band members, managers, and the industry, how loyalty can be betrayed by greed, ambition, or survival instincts. If we talk about musical and soundtrack significance, the soundtrack is integral to the film's storytelling, complementing its themes, evoking eras, and capturing the rebellious spirit of youth. If we talk about key songs and their impact on the dark side, the breakout hit capturing the raw energy of the band becoming a symbol of 1980s rock revival. Tower candy is reflecting nostalgic longing and emotional vulnerability. Almost Saturday night, evoking the excitement and optimism of youth. The music blends original composition with period classic, reinforcing authenticity. If we talk about sound design and use of music is used aesthetically in performances and seeks immersing viewers in the era. The soundtrack success helped to popularize the band's music beyond the film. If we talk about cinematic style and techniques, if we talk about narrative framing, the film employs a documentary style narration. Introduces the archive footage, creating a sense of authenticity and myth. If we talk about visual aesthetic, use of period appropriate costume sets and props to evoke the 1960s and 70s. Cinematography employs warm color palette for nostalgic scenes and darker tones for moments of conflict or introspection. We talk about editing and pacing. Alternates between lively musical sequence and reflective dialogue, balancing energy with emotional depth. If we talk about lighting and atmosphere, lighting emphasizes mood, bright and energetic during performance, muted and shadowy during moments of doubt or betrayal. If we talk about production and behind the scene, inside director Martin Davidson aimed to capture the authenticity of the era and the emotional core of the story. If we talk about casting, we can face charismatic portrayal of Eddie made him an icon of 1980s rock cinema. We talk about film location primarily shot in New Jersey and New York, adding regional authenticity, inspiration based loosely on real bands and stories of mythic rock legend, though the film remains a fictional narrative. If we talk about cultural impact, if we talk about cultural impact and legacy, We talk about criticism and controversies. Some critics found the pacing slow or the narrative lacking in depth. Others praised its atmospheric storytelling, musical authenticity, and nostalgic charm. The open-ended conclusion remains a point of discussion, with viewers debating whether Eddie survived or if the legend is just that a legend. We talk about themes revisited and deeper philosophical insight. The film challenges viewers to consider what makes a legend. Is it truth or perception? Can art survive beyond its creator? Does the myth overshadow reality? Is this pursuit of fame or sacrificing authenticity? Eddie's eternal conflict embodies this dilemma. It prompts introspection about the story we tell ourselves and the culture icon we idealize. If we talk about conclusion and final reflection, Eddie and the Cruiser is a richly layered film that combines a compelling narrative with evocative music and philosophical depth. Its enduring appeal lies in its exploration of myth-making, authenticity, and the elusive nature of truth. The film invites viewers to reflect on their own perception of fame and legacy, leaving a lingering sense of mystery and nostalgia. Its influence persists in music and film culture, securing its place as a quintessential piece of 1980s Americana. If we talk about more, and if we talk about Eddie and the Cruisers 1983, the ultimate in-depth exhaustive analysis. If we talk about introduction, an iconic cult classic. And if we talk about the introduction, an iconic cult classic, Eddie and the Cruiser stands as a quintessential example of American cinematic storytelling that explores the myth of rock stardom, the tension between authenticity and commercialism, and the elusive nature of truth. Although it was not a blockbuster upon release, the film's impact grew exponentially through video, radio airplay, and word of mouth, transforming it into a cult phenomenon. Its significance extends beyond its story, its soundtrack, thematic depth, and ambiguous ending have all contributed to its lasting legacy. The film is celebrated for capturing the spirit of 1960s and 70s, while seamlessly cushions the cost of fame and the stories we tell about ourselves and on our icons. And if we talk about historical and cultural context, the 1960s and 70s rock scenes of cultural revolution set during a period of massive social upheaval. The film reflects the countercultural movement's spirit of rebellion, experimentation, and seeking authenticity. The 1960s were marked by the rise of folk, psychedelic rock, and social activism, which heavily influenced the band's ethos, music industry, and commercialization. The 1980s, when the film was made, was a time of MTV driven stardom, corporate funding, and manufactured pop acts. The film critically examines how genuine artistry often becomes compromised in the pursuit of commercial success, echoing real-life debates about integrity versus of profit in the music industry. If we talk about myth making and urban legend, the fabric of the film is myth and reality, emphasizing how legends, particularly in music, are often larger than life constructed from stories, events, and cultural memory. The legend of Eddie Wilson exemplifies how narrative can outshadow truth, leading to questions about authenticity. If we talk about plot overview and narrative breakdown, opening frame mystery and myth and mystery. The film begins with a documentary style narration suggesting that Eddie Wilson, the charismatic lead singer of Eddie and the cruiser, died in a car crash in the early 1970s. This framing device immediately immerses viewers in a world of speculation, setting up a central mystery. we talk about main narrative, the search for the truth, Terry Daniels, delicate DJ and historian becomes obsessed with uncovering the real story behind Eddie's life and the fate of the band. His journey mirrors the audience's curiosity seeking authenticity amid myth. It our key plot point the band's formation and rise. The band emerges from regional roots with a distinctive sound blending rock, blues, and folk. Their hit like on the dark side become anthems of rebellion, internal struggles with issue and better tension between band members, management, and Eddie himself threatened their unity. The band's creative tension equation real story like the Beatles are the Rolling Stones. Eddie's mysterious disappearance. Rumors circulate about Eddie's death, with some believing he faked his death to escape fame or was murdered. The truth is deliberately obscured. The investigation interviews surviving band members and associates, uncovering conflicting accounts and adding layers of mystery. The climatic revelation, the film's final scene suggests Eddie might still be alive or that his death was fabricated, leaving viewers question whether the legend is real or more ambitious and conclusions. And if we talk about character deep dive and psychological profile, Eddie Michael Bear personality traits, charismatic, rebellious, talented, conflicted, introspective. And if we talk about arc and development from an idealistic artist to a disillusioned figure seeking escape from his eternal struggle mirrored the broader tension between artistic integrity and commercial pressures. Symbolism Eddie's characters embody the archetype of the tragic hero haunted by his past, seeking redemption or escape, the ultimate becoming a legend. And if we talk about Terry Daniels, John Stockwell, personality traits, curious, honest, idealist, Persistence role in the narrative represent the audience's views in seeking truth in a world of myth and deception. Talk about development transition from player fan to distribution investigator. Terry Moody's The Journey from Innocence to Experience confronting the complexities of fame. If we talk about Salamato and if it wins Michael Wagner's loyal, protective, emotional, grounded, who Eddie's close friend and confidant, symbolizing genuine loyalty amidst chaos. We talk about development, his character underscore the personal tone of fame and we talk about other band members and supporting character. We talk about distribution, the manipulative, profit-driven nature of the vision. We talk about themes and philosophical underpinnings. And if we talk about authenticity and commercial success, Eddie's eternal battle reflects a universal dilemma faced by artists whether to stay true to their vision or compromise for fame and profit. And we talk about betrayal and loyalty, the complex relationship within the band and industry illustrate how greed, ambition, and survival instincts often lead to betrayal, fragmenting bonds, and transitioning legacies. If we talk about music and soundtrack analysis, the soundtrack is arguably the most iconic aspect of the film, blending original compositions with period classic to evoke the spirit of the era and band's emotional journey. And if we talk about key tracks and their significance, on the dark side, the breakout hit capturing capturing rebellious energy and raw emotions and becoming a symbol of the film's spirit. If we talk about Anders, years, nostalgic well reflection, innocence lost, and longing for simpler times. If we talk about almost Saturday nights, an upbeat track celebrating youthful optimism and the thrill of freedom, and if we talk about Eddie and the cruiser theme, a haunting instrumental that encapsulates the film's mood. And if you talk about uh, music as a narrative device, music is integrated into the story both diegetically performed by the band and non-diegetically background score reinforcing emotional beats, era, authenticity and thematic resonance. And the cultural impact of the soundtrack success has extended beyond the film with songs like On the Dark Side charting nationally and becoming part of the classic rock canon. The music authenticity helped cement the film's legendary status. And if we talk about cinematic style and techniques, narrative framing, and storytelling, the film employs a documentary style approach, introduce segment archival footage and narration, creating a sense of realism. If you talk about flashback and musical sequences are used to evoke the era and deepen emotional resonance. If you talk about visual and aesthetic choices, use of period appropriate costume sets and close to youth 1960s and 70s. And if you talk about cinematography, employs warm tones during nostalgic scenes and darker hues during moments of conflict, betrayal, or mystery. Sorry guys, you have to wait for a little moment. Okay, if you talk about lighting and atmosphere, bright, vibrant lighting uh, during performances, muted, shadowy, tones, shadowy, tones during moments of doubt and betrayal. If we talk about camera angles, often emphasizes intimacy or distance, reflecting characters' eternal states. If we talk about behind the scene insight and production, director Martin Davidson aimed to authentically capture the era and emotional core of the story. We talk about screenplay and inspiration based loosely on real events and legends, though the story remains fictional. We talk about casting Michael Beer's charismatic portrayal of Eddie become iconic, defining his career. And if we talk about filming location, primarily shot in New Jersey and New York, adding regional authenticity and atmosphere. If we talk about music production, the soundtrack was produced with care, featuring talented musicians and recording sessions that captured the emotional moments. And if we talk about impact on popular culture and legacy, the film soundtrack has become a staple of classic rock radio. The ambiguous ending has sparked debates, theories, and analysis, cementing its status as a thought-provoking mystery. If we talk about cult following, fans cherish the film's nostalgic vibe, musical authenticity, and layered storytelling. If we talk about inspired a sequel, ID and the Cruiser's second release in 1989, which aimed to continue the myth but was less successful critically and commercially. The film influenced other music themed movies and documentaries such as The Last Waltz and Almost Famous. If we talk about critical reception and controversies upon releases, critics were divided. Some found it slow or overly smooth, others praised its mood and music. Its open-ended conclusion has been both celebrated and criticized. Viewers debates whether Eddie survived or if the story is fully myth. Over time, the film's reputation has grown appreciated for its atmospheric, historical, and cultural commentary. We talk about deeper thematic and philosophical reflection. Eddie and the Cruiser invites reflection on the power of myth, how legends are constructed and sustained, often independent of factual truth. We talk about authenticity in art, the eternal struggle of artists between staying true to their vision and fitting into commercial molds. We talk about memory and story, how collective memory shapes our understanding of the past, sometimes elevating myth over reality. We talk about fame and identity, the personal tool of stardom, and whether true authenticity is achievable or merely myth. We talk about the conclusion, why India's idea and the cruiser remains compelling when we collect taps into universal question about truth, vision, and the human desire for recognition. Its masterful blends of music, mastery, and philosophical inquiry creates a rich tapestry that continues to preserve the open-ended nature of the story, ensure that each viewer leaves with their interpretation, reinforcing its status as a modern myth. The soundtrack immortalizes its character and themes, ensuring that Eddie's legend, whether real or myth, is forever etched into the cultural memory. And if we talk about more, then let's go for it. eyelids floating and okay, so now if we talk about Eddie and the cruiser, the most exhaustive arc encompassing deep dive introduction and enduring cultural phenomenon. Eddie and the cruiser is more than just a film. It's a cultural artifact that encapsulates the mystic of legends, the ambiguities of truth and the illusion of memory. While it initially flew under the radar, it gained a legendary status through subsequent generation fueled by its evocative soundtrack, haunting themes, and open-ended narrative. Its legacy is rooted in its ability to evoke nostalgia, emotions, authenticity, and explore the mythic qualities we associate with musicians and the stories surrounding them. Its influence registered in music and film, inspiring lyrics, analysis, and tributes to our historical and cultural context. The 1960s and 70s revisited the cultural revolution of the 1960s, set during a turbulent era of social upheaval, civil rights movements, anti-war protest, and cultural experiments. The film reflects the ethos of authenticity and rebellion that defined the age. The band's music embodies the spirit of counterculture, honest and seeking truth. If we talk about the rise of commercialized music in the 1980s, the 1980s the music industry was dominated by MTV. Music videos and manufactured pop star, the tension between genuine artistry and commercial success was palpable, and Eddie and the Cruiser critically examines the tension, distance, and the film cushions whether true artistry integrity can survive in an industry driven by profit and image. If we talk about the myth of the rock star, the film delves into the construction of legends, how stories are created, amplified, and mythologized over time. It that the public's perception of a star often becomes more important than the reality of their life. If we talk about plot breakdown and the narrative mechanism, first we talk about opening sequence, myth and mystery. The film begins with the woman's star and footage suggesting Eddie Wilson's death in a car crash in the early 1970s. This framing device immediately immerses viewers in a world of speculation, setting up the central mystery. If we talk about main narration arc, that's such perfect. Terry Daniels, a dedicated DJ, becomes obsessed with uncovering the real story behind Eddie's life and the fate of the band. His journey functions as a surrogate for the audience seeking authenticity amid beliefs. If we talk about key plot elements, the band's formation of a group of regional musicians with raw authentic sounds, blending blues, folk, and rock influence. We talk about success and struggle. Their breakout hits, eternal conflicts, and struggle with the industry pressure. If we talk about mirroring in real life and dynamics. If we talk about Eddie's enigma, humorous all about his death, fake disappearance, or murder, fueling the mystery. If we talk about investigation, revelation, a story interviews surviving band members, uncovering conflicting stories, and deepening the enigma. If we talk about climactic scene, a suspenseful revelation suggests Eddie might still be alive or that his death is a myth, leaving the viewer pondering reality. The open-ended finale, the film ends with a scene at a construction site employing Eddie's survival or the persistence of his legend, but refusing to conflict either. This ambiguity invites ongoing debate and reflection. If we talk about complex character profiles and psychological depth, Eddie Wilson, Michael Paré. We talk about personality and traits. His personality is charismatic, rebellious, talented, introspective, conflicted, and if we talk about character development, from an idealistic musician to a disillusioned figure seeking escape from fame's traffic, symbolism embodies the archetype of the tragicist artist haunted by his past, yearning for authenticity, yet trapped for his legend. If we talk about Terry Daniels, John Stockwell, certain traits, curious, earnest, idealistic, persistence. If we talk about narrative rule, the audience is servant seeking truth and confronting values and ultimately disillusion. If we talk about growth from name and to disillusion, investigator Terry's journey mirrors to the film's exploration of myth versus reality. talk about Salamato Joy, Pantoriano personality and traits, cunning, pragmatic, sometimes cynical. We talk about role behind manager, insider representing the dark realities of the industry, greed, manipulation, and trend. If we talk about development, is conflicting loyalties, highlights the compromises and moral ambiguities faced by those in the business. If we talk about Vince Mickelback, personality and traits, loyal, protective, emotional, grounded, role, and his close friends, symbolizing authentic loyalty and friendship. If we talk about development, his character underscore the personal growth of fame and betrayal. If we talk about the supporting character, the doctor and family humanize the narrative, emphasizing personal stakes and emotional cost. Talk about the three figures illustrate the manipulative, profit-driven nature of the business. If we talk about themes and principles underpinning the myth of the legend, core themes questions whether legends are rooted in truth or constructed from stories, memories, and cultural narratives of emphasizes that the myths often overshadows fact and that the story which has become more important than reality. If we talk about authenticity versus commercial success, that is eternal conflict embodies the universal struggle of artists, whether to stay true to their vision or capitulate to industry demands. The film explores the cost of artist integrity and whether it's possible to maintain authenticity in a commodified world. If we talk about nostalgia and memory, the film examines how memories fade, restored, romanticized. Over time, nostalgia becomes both comfort and a dream, closing over pain, betrayal, and compromise while elevating the past into legend. If we talk about death, survival, and immortality, questions about Eddie's fate symbolizes the desire for artistic immortality. The ambiguity invites viewers to reflect on what truly endures, truth or myth. We talk about betrayal and loyalty, the complex relationship within the band and industry reflect the tension between loyalty and betrayal, greed, ambitions, and survival instincts often lead to fractured bonds and tarnished legacies. If we talk about musical and soundtrack significance, the soundtrack is arguably the film's most iconic element, combining original songs with period hits to evoke the era and emotional landscape. If we talk about major tracks and their significance, on the dark side, the defining capturing the rebellious spirit and raw energy of the band, cultural touchstone of it all about and tender years of heartfelt bed reflecting innocence, lost and longing. And if If we talk about almost Saturday night, an upbeat celebrity tune representing youthful exuberance, and the cruiser themes, haunting instruments that encapsulate the film's mood and themes. If we talk about music and narrative and atmosphere, music is woven into the narrative both diegetically performed by the band and non-diegetically scored, gaining emotional impact and immersing viewers in them. If we talk about cultural impact of the soundtrack commercial success extended beyond the film. With songs like On the Dark Side charting nationally, the music's authenticity and emotional power helped solidify the film's legendary status. And if we talk about cinematic style and artistic techniques, narrative framing and storytelling, the film employs a documentary style approach, introduce segment, achieve footage, voiceovers, creating a sense of realism and authenticity. This technique blurs the line between fiction and reality. We talk about visual and aesthetic choices. Use of period accurate costume and sets evoke the 1960s to 70s atmosphere. If we talk about cinematography, employs warm tones for nostalgic scenes and dark use for moments of betrayal, mystery, or introspection. If we talk about editing and pacing, alternates between energetic musical sequence and slower, reflective, mellow scene, balancing entertainment with emotional depth. If we talk about lighting and mood lighting emphasizes mood, bright performance, shadowy during moments of doubt or bad driving, enhancing the thematic complexity. We talk about behind the scene and production insight. We talk about director Martin Davidson aim for authenticity, capturing eras, feel and emotional core. If we talk about casting, Michael Carroll, the charismatic portrayal of Eddie, made him an icon of 1980s rock cinema. If we talk about filming location, shot mainly in New Jersey and New York, adding regional authenticity. If we talk about music production, the soundtrack was crafted with care, featuring talented musicians and recording sessions that captures raw emotion. If we talk about impact and legacy, cultural and artistic influence, the soundtrack remains a classic influential in the region. The film's ambiguous ending continues to inspire debates among fans and scholars. Inspired a sequel, Eddie and the Cruiser's second 1989, which tried to continue the myth but failed to capture the original magic. We talk about fan base and cult following, appreciated for its nostalgic tone, musical authenticity, and layered storytelling. Frequently referenced in the season about legendary bands and myth making. If we talk about inspiration on later media influence, subsequent music documentaries and film exploring similar themes like Almost Famous and The Last Waltz If we talk about critical reception and controversies, mixed reviews of one release, some critics found it was slow or unlike nostalgia. The open-ended conclusion has sparked ongoing debates about the nature of truth and myth. Over time, the film has gained critical reappraisals and noted for its mood, music, and philosophical depth. And if we talk about philosophical and thematic deep dive, the film invites viewers to complete and profound questions. What defines a legend, truth, or perception? Can art transcend morality to myths? Help artists achieve immortality? Is nostalgia a form of escapism or a necessary human experience? How do betrayals and loyalty shape identity? And what is the true cost of film? If we talk about final reflection by Eddie and the cruiser endures, the film endures, enduring appeals lies in its masterful blends of music, mystery, and philosophical inquiry. It challenges viewers to confront their own perception of truth, myth, and authenticity. Its endedness ensure that each viewer leaves with their own interpretation, reinforcing its status as a modern myth. The soundtrack immortalizes its characters and themes, ensuring that in Eddie's legend, whether real or imagined, remains cast into cultural memory forever. If we talk about more, let's go for it. Haha, okay, fit about Eddie and the cruiser. 1983. The definitive in-depth magicized analysis. If we talk about introduction, cultural and cinematic landmark, Eddie and the Cruiser is an enigmatic, evocative film that transcends its genre by blending musical authenticity with deep philosophical questions about myth, memory, and identity. It's a journey from a novel release to a cult classic underscore. Its profound resonance with the audience. The film's layered storytelling, compelling character, and haunting soundtrack have eased it into the pantheon of American cinema and music history. This analysis aims to dissect every phase of the film, its narrative intricacies, thematic richness, cultural significance, musical influence, and philosophical musing, offering a panoramic view that encompasses both the overt and subtle elements that make the film a timeless masterpiece. If we talk about historical and cultural backdrop, the 1960s to 70s and the making of Legend, the spirit of the 1960s and 70s, set against the backdrop of a turbulent decades. The film evokes the spirit of rebellion, social upheaval, and artistic exploration. The band's music echoes the raw energy of the folk, cyclic, and the roots rock movement of the era. The cultural upheaval, civil rights, anti-war protest, counterculture experimentation formed the fertile ground for genuine artistic expression that the film seeks to honor and critique. And if we talk about the 1980s, the most industry landscape in the film was made in the early 1980s. The music industry was dominated by MTV music videos and shift towards highly manufactured pop acts. There was a growing tension between authentic musicianship and commercial spectacles. The film is reflective critic of this environment, questioning whether true artistry can survive in an increasing unmodified world. If we talk about myth making and the cultural construction of legends, the film examines how legends are created through stories, media, and collective memory, and how those stories often become detached from reality. The character of Eddie symbolizes this mythic process, embodying a persona that is as much a cultural symbol as a real person. And if we talk about narrative structure and intricate web of mystery and reflection, then let's talk about opening sequence setting the stage for myth. The film opens with a documentary style narration, archival footage and interviews suggesting Eddie Wilson's death in a mystery car crash. This framing influence immediately immerses. The film's fictionalized account of the life of Eddie Wilson, a young musician who leads the fictional band Eddie and the Cruisers in the 1960s. The movie unfolds as a kind of meta story with the narrative itself taking on a life for its own. The story begins with the release of a series of old tapes Eddie had recorded before his mysterious disappearance, sparking a newfound interest in his music. Through the tapes, the film protagonist Maggie Foley, played by Ellen Barkin, becomes obsessed with uncovering the truth behind Eddie's life and death. As the narrative progresses, it becomes clear that Eddie's life was marked by both brilliance and tragedy. This music being both a source of joy and a reflection of the darkness he faced. We talk about themes, the power of music and the human condition as it's As its core, Eddie and the Cruiser is a film about the transformative. It's getting and Eddie and the Cruiser involves a non-linear narrative blending documentary style and reviews, flashbacks, and present-day investigation. This layered storytelling techniques immerses viewers in a mystery that blurs the lines between reality and myth. It over the central mystery, Eddie Wilson's fate, the core enigma revolves around whether Eddie Wilson, the charismatic lead singer of the band, survived the car crash that supposedly ended his life in 1968. The film's protagonist, John Truscott, a music journalist, seeks to uncover the truth, leading to a series of revelations that challenges the viewer's perception. If we talk about the role of the media and memory, the film critics recognize how media shapes the narrative of Eddie's life, initially portraying him as a tragic hero, then as a potential fraud, and finally as a complex figure. This true story is elusive. This commentary on media manipulation and collective memory adds philosophical depth, questioning whether history is an object record or a constructed legend. If we talk about character complexity and symbolism, Eddie Wilson portrayed as both rebellious youth and a tortured artist. Eddie embodies the conflicted spirit of the 1960s counterculture. His character arc questions whether he was a genuine musical genius or a product of the myth-making machinery between Lori and Louis Spencer. Eddie's former lover, who provides critical insights into his personality and the band's history. Her perspective adds emotional depth and serves as a link between Eddie's past and the present investigation. If we talk about John Truscott, the film's protagonist, a journalist, caught between skepticism and belief. His journey mirrors the audience's own quest for truth amid the conflicting narrative. We talk about the Cruise's band members. Each member symbolizes different phases representing themes of loyalty, loyalty, betrayal, and artistic integrity. If we talk about musical significance, the heartbeat of the film soundtrack and song, the soundtrack primarily composed of original songs by John Capri and the Giver Brown Band is the cornerstone of the film's enduring appeal. Notable tracks include On the Dark Side, an anthem of youthful rebellion and longing. It over 100 years, a heartfelt ballad reflecting nostalgia and the Cruiser, the title track, a poetic reflection on pain. Our musical authenticity, the band's music captures the raw energy of 1960s and 70s with the gritty vocals, soulful melodies, and evocative lyrics. The film's commitment to authenticity and musical performance enhances credibility as a cultural artifact. To production insight and awareness impacts. Let's first talk about filming location. The film was shot primarily in New Jersey with scenes set in the towns of Asbury Park, and Red Bank, capturing the authentic feel of regional music scene, the iconic boardwalk scene in Asbury Park evoke a nostalgic American atmosphere. If we talk about casting choices, Michael Paré as Eddie Wilson was relatively unknown before the film, but became a cult figure afterward. Joey Pantoliano played the band's manager, adding depth to the film's portrayal of the music industry's dark side. If we talk about Louis Fletcher, already an Oscar winner, brought gravitas to the role of Laurent. If we talk about budget and reception, the film was produced on a modest budget, $4 million, but found success through word of mouth and home video releases. Initially, it received mixed reviews but gained cult status due to its authentic portrayal of musical, cultural, and compelling mystery. Talk about thematic depth and philosophical reflection. We talk about mythology and reality. The film explores how myths are constructed around real individuals, transforming Eddie into a symbol of rebellion, artistic purity or exploitation depending on perspective. The search for authenticity. John Dusker's journey mirrors the audience's own quest for truth in a world life with the illusion. The film questions whether authenticity is art and life can ever truly be attained, or if we are doomed to chase shadows of the past. We talk about legacy and immortality. His story raises questions about how legends endures beyond physical existence through music, stories, and collective memory, and whether this immortality is real or illusory. If we talk about impact and legacy, cult status and influence, the film popularity surged in the 1990s with the release of the sequel Hattie and Cruiser 2, released in 1989, which continued the myths and explored Hattie's possible survival. The soundtrack remains iconic, often cited as one of the best music-driven movie soundtracks. In talk influence on music and cinema, the film paved the way for other music-centered narratives and inspired artists and filmmakers to explore authentic musical stories intertwined with philosophical questions. If we talk about additional facts and trivia, the film was almost considered a disaster on release but gained a dedicated following through cable TV and home media. The real band, the Beaver Brown Band, performed their own music in the film, adding to its authenticity. The film's director Martin Ritchie was known for socially conscious film, adding layers of meaning to this ostensibly rock and roll story. The character of Eddie Wilson has been compared to real-life rock icons like Jim Morrison and Janis Joplin, embodying the archetype of the tragic, misunderstood artistry. If we talk about conclusion on enduring myth in American culture, Eddie and the Cruiser is more than a musical drama. It's a meditation on myth, making authenticity and the elusive nature of the truth. Its layered narrative, authentic soundtrack, and philosophical undertones make it a film that invites repeated viewing and deep reflection. It challenges audience to consider how stories are shaped, how legends are born, and what it means to leave a lasting legacy and eternal questions wrapped in the gritty, soulful soundscape of American rock. And so it was a review of this movie. I hope you like it, you enjoyed it, and if there was any mistake in this video, then I apologize for that. Thank you for watching, and like if you like it, and goodbye. Thank you. Let's meet on next.